Hey guys, what's up? I am Nikhil from Dope Motions, and in this After Effects tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create this advanced electronic style logo animation inside of After Effects without using any plugin. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into After Effects and get started. Now, before we dive into today's video, I want to address a question that I get asked a lot. And that is, how do I record these high quality tutorials while keeping everything so clear, especially when I'm working with a complex tool like After Effects? Well, the answer is simple. The setup isn't just about After Effects. It's more about how I capture everything so smoothly. And I have struggled with this for a while myself. I have tried a bunch of different tools, but nothing really clicked in until I found Wondershare Demo Creator, who are also our today's sponsor. This software seriously makes screen recording so much easier. Whether I am recording a full tutorial or just a quick demo, it has 6 different recording modes and it can record video up to 4K for 24 hours. So I can capture exactly what I need. And the best part, it even comes with an AI teleprompter. And after the recording is done, editing is also super simple. I can cut, trim, add effects, and also throw in some fun transitions. With smart zoom and cursor highlight, I can always keep my viewers engaged. So for all of you who have been asking me what software you use to record your screen, there you have it. Give Demo Creator a try by clicking the first link in the description below, and trust me, you'll save a lot of time. So with that said, let's get back to today's video. Alright, so here we are in After Effects. Now before you start watching this tutorial, which you have already did, make sure to download the free project file from the link in the description below. This project file will contain all the assets and the maps that we will be using for this particular tutorial. So make sure to do that before you start making this animation. So now once that you have downloaded it, let's start by creating a new composition. Called this render as our main render com. I'm going with 2560 by 1440. You can go with 4K or full HD if you want to. For frame rate, I'm going to set this to 12 because we want that kind of low frame rate animation to get those nice snappy glitches. And the duration is set to 10. Press OK. Now let's create another new composition. Let's call this logo here. So we can drag and drop in a logo that we want to use. And then I'm going to create another new composition and call this logo reveal. All right. Let's drag the logo here composition inside. I'll go to effects and presets and search for an effect called card wipe. Double click to apply that, and now we can start animating this. Now before we animate the card wipe, I want to add a simple scale and position animation to the logo composition. So to do that, first of all, I'll select the pan behind tool and snap this anchor point at the bottom. You can turn on the snapping, that will help us snap it properly at the bottom. Then select it, press S to bring down the scale property, unlink this, set this one to 150 and this one to 50. All right. And then press P to bring down the position and bring that below like so. Let's create a keyframe on the position. Press S and create a keyframe on the scale property. Press U so we can see them. Let's zoom in into a timeline. Then I'll go to 10th frame. Set this one to 150. And then we can align this simply in the center. If you don't see this align tab, you can find it under Windows and align. So now we have a pretty simple animation. Now make sure your time indicator is at the start. I'll create a keyframe on the transition completion and set it all the way up to 100. Set the transition width to 55. Increase the rows to around 27 should be fine. And for the columns, I'll go with 1. Set the flip direction to negative. And because our logo is animating from the bottom, I'll set this from bottom to top. Now let's go into the position jitter. Set the X jitter amount to 0.08. Set the X jitter speed to 3. Set the Y jitter amount to, let's go with something like 5. Set the Y jitter speed to 10. Leave the Z jitter amount to 0 and increase the Z jitter speed to 20. And then I'm going to create keyframe on all of them, just like that. You can press U so you can see the keyframes. And then I will go at 12th frame, that is 1 second. Change the X jitter amount to 0, X jitter speed to 1, Y jitter amount to 0, speed to 1, and the Z jitter speed to 1 as well. And we can leave this one at 0. So now we have something which looks like this. Now what I'm going to do is go into effects and presets and search for transform effect. Double click to apply that. Move my time indicator right over here and create a keyframe on the scale property. So you can press U. Then I'll press page down to move 1 frame forward in time. Set the scale amount to 140. Again, move 1 frame forward. Set this to 180. Go 1 frame forward and set this to 25. Then I'll go a few frames forward to around 1 second and 7 frames. Set the scale amount to 125. Go 1 frame forward. Set this to 275. A frame forward. Set this to 40. A frame forward. Set this to 70. Go 1 frame forward. Set this to 120. And a frame forward. Let's bring that back to 70. Then I'll go to 2 second and 5 frames. That is 5 frames forward in time. And let's create another keyframe. Now this time I want to create a hold keyframe. So make sure you press and hold Control and Alt at the same time and click on this keyframe. That is going to change this into a hold keyframe. I'll go 1 frame forward and set this to 100. Go 1 frame forward and bring that back to 70. Then I'll go to 3 second and 2 frame. Create a keyframe on the scale property. Go 1 frame forward. Set this to 120 and then go 2 frames forward and bring that back to 70. Then I'll go to 4 second and 7 frames. Let's create a keyframe on the scale again, but this time I'm going to get rid of the whole keyframe. We just want a normal keyframe and then go 5 frames forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and set this to 130. We can select the keyframes, go to keyframe assistant and easy ease them. Go into the graph, right click and make sure you're working in the edit speed graph. And let's create a curve like so. So it animates smoothly like that. Okay. So that was the most detailed part of this tutorial. Now we can head on to the fun stuff. So let's close this. I'll go into the project panel and let's create a new composition called this logo map underscore 1. We need to create 3 maps. So I'm going to name this 1. Now let's drag the logo reveal composition. So here we have our animation. It's a nice flickery animation. All right. Let's go into the maps that we have here. I'm going to drag the map 1 on top. Scale that down to around 68 so it fits the composition. And we can hide that. Select the logo reveal composition. Go into effects and presets and search for displacement map. We can double click to apply that. Move the time indicator at the very start. Let's zoom in into our timeline. And in the displacement map layer, I'm going to select the map that we just added. Let's set the max horizontal displacement to around 580 and max vertical displacement to 700. Then I'm going to duplicate this by pressing Ctrl D, set this one to 230 and this one to minus 800. There you go. Now let's create a keyframe on the max vertical displacement of both the displacement map layers. We can press U to see them. Go 1 frame forward in time. Set this one to 900 and this one to 200. Again, go 1 frame forward. Set this one to 600 and this one to minus 600. Then I'll go 2 frames forward, 1, 2. Create a keyframe on the max horizontal displacement. We can press U to see them and then go 1 frame forward and set them to 0. Then I'll go to 10th frame, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Set the max vertical displacement of this one to 160. Go 1 frame forward, set this to 120. Go a frame forward and let's increase this to 5000 to make it really intense. As you can see, go a frame forward and set this to 300. Now the main idea here is to make it as interesting and complex as possible so that it looks a bit more detailed and interesting. And let's go 1 frame forward and bring this down to 0. And this one to 0 as well. So now just to give you guys an idea, we have a really interesting glitchy animation. Pretty cool. We have some really nice and abstract glitches, and the values that I'm telling you are the ones that I found out to be, working well for me, but you can always experiment with these values. The main idea is to understand how everything works. So that is the map one. Let's create another map. So what I can do is simply just create a new composition called this logo map underscore 02. Press OK. Now drag the logo map 1 inside this, and let's go into the maps and drag the map 2. We can hide that and also bring down the scale to 68. And then what I'm going to do is right click and create a new adjustment layer. We can call this warp. And then I'll go to 1 second and 2 frames, somewhere around there. We can hold alt and right square bracket to crop that, and then go to 1 second and 10 frame right here and hold alt and left square bracket, sorry, right square bracket to cut the layer. So here we have this adjustment layer, and on this I'll add the displacement map and select the map to set the horizontal displacement to 0 and set the vertical displacement to around 220 should be fine. Create a keyframe, go 1 frame forward, set this to -120, go 1 frame forward and set this to 30. So now we have a bit more interesting look, as you can see. Now let's create another map. So call this logo map underscore 03. Press OK, drag the logo map composition, and in the maps folder we have the we have the map 3. Scale this down to 68 and we can hide that. Select the logo map 2 composition, add the displacement map, set this to map 3, and I'm gonna bring down the max horizontal displacement to 3. So we'll have a little bit of movement after it animates, something like that. As you can see, looking pretty good. Now let's create a blur map that will drive the complete animation, the intense movement that will give an intense movement to the complete logo reveal. So I'll create a new composition called this blur map. Press OK. And here I have a few assets that I will be using to create this blur map. So first I'll start with the reference texture, drag it and scale this so it fits the composition. Then go into effects and presets and add curves. This will help us to increase the contrast between the blacks and whites. So I'll keep it something like this. Now I want to cut the top section. So what I can do is press Ctrl Y to create a new solid, call this layer. And then I can simply select the rectangle tool and create a mask like this and increase the feather amount. Press F and feather this up like so. So let's set this to around 600 should be fine. Yeah. You bring that a little down. Then we have a dirt effects. We'll add it on the top and change the blend mode of this to add, and to increase the intensity of this we can duplicate this. So we have intense dirt effects. Then I have a blur map animation, which is this one. So let's add this as well. So we can just drag and drop it on top, set this to add. There you go. Let's scale this down to 68. Then I'll go to 1 second and 3 frames and let's double click to create a new shape. Move this right here and add a fast box blur on this one. Set this to around 200. Let's crop this layer. So hold alt and left square bracket, go 5 frames forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold alt and right square bracket to cut that up. Go at the very start and press T to bring down the opacity and set it to around 35%. Create a keyframe. Go right here and set this to 10. We can ease the keyframes if we want to. So we have the blur right over here. We can adjust it. I'm going to place it somewhere on here. And then what I can do is duplicate the blur map. Let's press Ctrl D and move this one somewhere around there. Hold alt and left square bracket to cut that, and then go right over here. And we can cut that up as well. So now that our blur map is ready, let's put this to the test. So I'll close everything, right click. So let's create a new composition, call this animation, press OK. Drag the logo map 3 right here. So we have that. Drag the blur map that we just created. We can hide that. Select the logo map, go into effects and presets and search for compound blur. Double click to apply that. set the blur layer to blur map that we created, and we need to animate that. So what we can do is go to 1 second and 4 frames, somewhere around here. Set the maximum blur amount to 930. Create a keyframe. Go 2 frames forward, 1, 2. We can also press U so we can see the keyframes. And let's set this to 1200. Go 2 frames forward, 1, 2. Set this back to 930. Then I'll go to 3. Then I'll go 3 frames forward, 1, 2, 3. Set this down to 150. Then I'll go 4 frames forward, 1, 2, 3, 4. Increase this to 400. And you can play around with the values, And then I'll go around 9 to 10 frames forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And bring that down to 0. Then I'll go to 4 second and 9 frames. Create a keyframe on the layer, go 1 frame forward, and increase the compound blur to around 200. So now, because of that blur map and the compound blur, we have this really interesting look, as you can see. And you can always play around with the properties. If you think it's way too intense or the blur is way too much, you can always go into the blur map and play around with the settings. I can maybe adjust this a little bit, to make it look even more different, maybe increase that. And, it drives the complete animation crazy. So that is looking good. And I can add some noise RGB on this. So we have some assets here. We have the noise RGB on top. Scale that down to 68 or 70 should be fine. And set this to add. So we have some really nice noise going on. And now let's add some nice spicy RGB to this. So to do that, I'll go back into our main rendered composition. Let's add the animation comp. So here we have it. Go into effects and presets, search for shift channels, turn off everything except the blue channel. Duplicate this, press Ctrl D, turn off the blue channel and turn on the green channel. Duplicate this, turn off the green channel and turn on the red channel, and change the blend mode of these two to add. And then I can move them by 1 frame like so, and then select all these three and place it at the start. So now we have something like this. Pretty cool and intense, but let's take this one step forward by adding a glow and a color balance. So I'll create a new adjustment layer, called this glow and color. Go into effects and presets, search for glow effect. If you have deep glow, make sure you use that because it's super amazing. If you don't, you can use the default glow. Let's go to somewhere around here. Let's increase the glow radius to 1000. Create a keyframe on the glow intensity. Press U so we can see it. Then I'll go to somewhere around here, should be fine. Bring down the glow intensity to 0.1. And then go at the very start, somewhere around here, I think. Create a keyframe on the glow. And go right here, set it to around 3 or 4 should be fine. And after that, we can simply just select them, hold Alt and right square bracket to cut them up. So now we have something like this. Then I'll add a color balance effect to this. So let's search for color balance, HLS. Double click to apply that. Let's go somewhere around here. Create a keyframe on the U, and we can press U to see the keyframes. I'll go right here, set this to 1, and then go right here, set this back to 0. So now we have a nice color shift, as you can see, looks pretty cool. And then go right over here at the end. Again, create a keyframe and set this to 1. So boom. Finally, I will add some noise using the noise MOV that I have here. Bring that down to 70 and change the blend mode of this to add. Let's duplicate this. And there we have our final animation ready to roll. Pretty interesting. It's a bit time consuming because it's a super detailed effect, but once you get the idea about the effects that we have used, you can use it in your way. You can, create some really interesting things using a different blur map. It was like a mini course, I think. And if you are still here, make sure to subscribe to the channel so that I can bring such free in-depth tutorials for you. And you can follow me on Instagram at dope.motions as well. All the links are in the description below. Also, before I go, if you anytime want to change the logo, you can simply go into logo here. You can change the logo. You can use a different text. So maybe I can type in a different text here just to pretty quickly show you guys, something like that. Let's use a different font. Yeah, that looks good. There we have our cool text animation ready to roll. So this works much better with logos, I think. But yeah, you can use text as well to create a nice intro or something. But yeah, I think it's pretty awesome. So give it a try. And if you post this animation online, make sure to tag me. And I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care and always stay raw, stay creative. Peace out.